Nice and pretty cassette. There we go. All right. Rim's pretty much dried, so you can use any tape. I've used several different ones, but honestly, plain Gorilla tape is what I like. Depending on the width of your rim, this comes in 1 inch, which actually works well on these rims. But if you have a little narrow rim, just peel part of it back. If your rim's not these 35 millimeters, I have really wide rim, so it fits and covers the rim. So you can always size the tape. It's real easy. Grab a piece and start a line. It will continue to be the same size. Play with the width until you get the correct width for your tape. You want to go from the bottom of the bead edge right there to the bottom of the bead edge there is pretty close to what you want to cover. It so happens that 35 millimeter rims happen to use 1 inch tape, so it works out. Another helpful hint, when you start, take your tape, pull it back, and cut it. That way you have a fresh adhesive that hasn't been messed with, so that goes in the trash. Okay. The way I tape them, and I've never had any issue with these, I find the valve stem right here. I start off 1.5 spokes back. I gently put it in the center and I work the center down. I don't touch the edges yet, just the center, okay? Now go all the way around the rim, pull off, I don't know, a foot of tape or so you can line it up nice. Oh, probably real gentle pulling on it. You don't want to tug the crap out of it, for lack of a better term. Maybe 5 or 6 pounds on this at the most. Keep it straight right down the middle of that rim. You may have to check it a few times. Go down the center. You have to make, it's really important, take your time guys and get this straight. You want it right in the center of the rim, right down the middle only with your finger. Yes, I'm ignoring the edges. Take your time, get it right. There we go. Down the center only. Make sure this is stuck down pretty good on this end. Okay. Spokes right there. Down the center. See, I got it off. So back it off. If you get it off, it hasn't stuck good yet. You want to take your time. You want it to be right. Okay. Booger of glue in that one. Okay. And there's the valve. Find and feel for the valve stem, which is right here where my finger's at. So I'm going to go 1.5 spokes past the valve stem, right here. Okay. I know a lot of us are used to ripping tape and tearing tape. On the rim, take the time and cut it. It really matters. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go down the center with my finger again. Okay, I'm going to go down my center, starting this way. I'm going to work it down with my thumb, down the center only. With pretty firm pressure on it. I'm trying to make sure that center is actually stuck, set in there nice and deep in the center part. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm around. Now, I'm gonna run the outside edge, one edge at a time with my finger lightly. Well, maybe not lightly, fairly firm, around the outside edge until I get back all the way around. And that's why the valve stem is another good place to start, so you know where you're at. If you go twice, it won't hurt it. You just go, make sure you get around. Okay. Next side, this outside edge. I'll explain to you the process in a minute. Let me get this edge done so I can concentrate, because I want this right. Okay. Here comes the valve. Okay, now the reason I kept saying center, center, center. I've heard people ignore this. Please do not ignore that. If you learn nothing else from taping rims, center first before you touch the edges. The reason is if you tighten down the edges, then you push the center, a piece this long, when you bend it, is going to get shorter. See, if you take it like this, look where my knuckles are. And if you bend it, these come in. See? Inward. So if you have the tape on the outside edges, you do it first and you pull it in, it's going to suck the tape in, which is going to pull the edges loose. You want the edges to be tight, real tight, but you got to get the center set so when you do this, it's already in that position. The tape's already like that more or less. So the top of it's already here, so you can just press it down since there is no tugging on it, so the tape's secure. That way there's no linear tension pulling on it this way, trying to pull the tape loose. If you just tape the outside edges and pull it down like that, it'll be pulling really hard on the outside edges. The outside edges will be being squeezed in because the center's lower, and it'll eventually pull them loose and you'll have leaking rims. So this is really important. And this is the trick to, not the trick, this is the method for having a good rim that works. To finalize mine, the center has already been done. We've already done that. I'll take my tire tool, plastic, and I just put it on the edge so I can get really directed pressure, not real hard. Just go down the outside edge of the rim all the way around, because I want this outside edge down tight now that the center's tight. Now do the same thing on this side. Do it again. I want these to be tight, because this is what keeps it from leaking, is these really tight outside edges. That's why you got to do the center first. Now, if you look at a rim, look at that. It is hard to tell, except for my kitty hair got on there. It's very difficult to tell where the tape stops and the rim starts. There's no visible seams, really. It's hard to see. That's the way it has to be. If you've done your rim that way, you will not have leakage. Okay. Before you put before you start putting the tire on, don't forget, you got to put a valve stem back in. Find your valve stem right here. And when you're doing your valve stem, find it, it's right there, start rubbing it down, and you will feel the indentation where it's at. Okay, put a little pressure on the inside to make sure we know exactly where we're at. Right there's where it's at, see that little dent? Now I'm going to use, if y'all don't own these are really high-tech valve stem installation tools, so everybody needs some valve stem installation tools. Besides, we hate it. People really don't like it when you're on the trail and you say, can I borrow an Allen wrench? So we're going here, we're going to find out where the hose is. It's right there, see it? We're going to press it nice and snug. We're going to take our valve stem installation tool, we're going to go in that little divot, and we're going to push down. And that's it. We're not going to make the size of the valve stem. That's as far as we do. Remember, at this point, you've got one layer, 2 layers. It's 2 layers thick. That padding is essential for when the valve stem goes in. Everybody good with this? Next part. Here's where most people mess up their rims. When they install the valve stem, and it's gonna be a tight fit, they get this thing in here and they crank it down. They put it on here, you press it in nice and firm. Like, you do want to wiggle it and get it nice and firm. Okay, you do want to work that just a little bit so it's firm. Press down a little gentle wiggle so it's firm, so that you get a small V indentation in here. That's what you want. Now, a lot of people think they get tired of their valve stems leaking, so they come into here and they just tighten and tighten and tighten and tighten, squeezing the valve stem up. If you tighten your valve stem really, really tightly, like with a pair of pliers, and spin that nut down, I'm going to guarantee your valve stem is going to leak. I will show you in a minute the correct way to seat the valve stem properly. But for now, we're just getting it in there and we're putting it on. We're going to stop there. Okay.
There. Okay,
the tire we're putting on here is a Recon 29-incher, 2.60, 3C, which means it has 3 different compounds, soft to hard. I did a review on this tire. Please look for the review if you want more information. And it's a Max Terra, which is really light. This one came in at 738 grains. It's EXO housing, which is not the heavy housing because they have EXO Plus. It is TR, which means tubeless ready, and it's also, it doesn't say here, these are WT. They're designed specifically for the wider rims, 30 to 35 millimeter rims. Okay, so. Now, you've done all the work, clean it up and make it really nice. Now you're gonna take your tire and get your tire ready to go. For those of y'all that don't know, which I'm sure everybody knows, but in case they don't, I'll repeat it once. Tires go on a specific direction. They have a rotating direction. And on the edge of the tire,
right there.
Rotation. See the arrow pointing that way? That's the way it's supposed to roll. Okay. Now that your wheel's off, it gets kind of confusing for some of us to figure out which way it rotates. So the easiest way to do this is hold it up, feel your clutch. See? It turns, power goes, it turns that way. See? It's turning that way. Nothing that way, so it turns that way. So the tire is rotating from the top to my right as the video setting. So that does match the direction of the arrow. That is correct. If it was this way, we would turn it around. So we want it that way. All right, so now we're just gonna start putting it on. Nothing special. If you want to know how to put tires on, we can do another video on how to install tires. This is just a real basic. But I will show you at the end of this video what's really important as far as how to seat the valve stem as the last part of going tubeless and taping. All right, since we're doing this, I might as well go over this one little piece. When you're getting these on, now is the perfect time to stop and look. Find your valve stem. There's my valve stem. See that? It's on the wrong side. Go ahead and lift it up and over before you put the tire all the way on. It's really hard to do after both sides of the tire are on. So just stop and check that. Quick little FYI. See, it was on this side. You want it on the far side where it's supposed to be. Okay. And also start when you seat it, this one down here by the valve stem, so you're not having to fight with the valve stem as part of the seating process. And we're almost done. I gotta turn around backwards to finish it. I can't do it by hand. And you can use tire tools or a little bit of soap and water. I can usually work them. I got really strong hands without having to put a tool on the tire. Ta-da! And there we go. It is on, more or less. Okay. Those of y'all that watched all the videos going, all right, he put the tire on and didn't put any sealant in it. Man, he just screwed up. He missed it. He missed it. I do that intentionally. I will show y'all why in a couple of minutes. I don't put sealant in until I get the beads sealed. It's just a personal thing. Do what you like, but that's my thing. I'll get back to that in a minute. Thank you. Hey, skeezer. Well, got a clean cassette, got the tire on and beat it up. Actually, it went on with it. We used a little hand pump, it went right on, no problems at all. Took us probably less than 60 seconds to get it to start to beat. It beat it, no problem. So with that said, you know, it still don't have any stands in it, so whichever one you use, I like stands, but make sure that you, particularly when you're putting it in, get it shaked up really good, because it is a suspension, which means the latex is floating around in a liquid. You don't want the latex to be left in the bottle on the bottom. You want the actual latex to go in the tire, so make sure that you get this shake up real good. So we'll do this for a couple of minutes. Take my stands off here now. These are almost child-proof. Okay. Okay, remember, everybody usually dumps it, breaks the bead, and they dump it in there, then they air the tire up. I usually find that makes more of a mess than it's worth. So for me, spin it up, just a personal preference, do it however you would like. I put it on, turn it upside down, and give it a couple of squirts. Okay, get the excess, just because I don't like messes, off of here. It's already beaded. Since it's already beaded, I'm putting my valve stem back in. Okay, and I have to hold the stem because my valve stem is not tightened yet. See, my valve stem is actually, see, the nut's loose. It is not tightened. I spin the nut down until it touches, And that's about it. Loosen up. We'll air it up, and I'll show you how we finish this after we air it up. We'll be back with you after we get some pressure in the tire.